Living and Leading looks at Gabriel's Angels, a nonprofit that uses pet therapy to help abused and neglected children. The organization is named after Gabriel, the group's original therapy dog, and the Angels are the kids receiving help. Here now is Pam Gaber, founder and CEO of Gabriel's Angels. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
This is, kids and dogs.
Good combination.
I was going to say, nary a discouraging word. How did this program develop?
You know, I always say that it started on accident, but it continues on purpose. I was volunteering at the crisis nursery in Phoenix, and I was telling the children occasionally about my new puppy named Gabriel. And right when Gabriel turned a year old, I brought him to their Christmas party dressed as Rudolph.
Oh, boy.
The only reason I brought him, I wanted the children to finally meet this dog they knew so much about. And that day, those kids were different. Instead of being angry and violent, they were loving and kind and would hug Gabriel. And we all watched in amazement as this animal reached children like no adult could.
And we just see a couple of shots there of Gabriel. Obviously, Gabriel is he's chasing butterflies in a different world now, probably.
He is.
But this is such. Talk about the kids now that you're dealing with, because these are special kids themselves.
Yeah, we deal with abused, neglected, and at-risk youth here in Arizona. The children that we visit are somewhat desensitized, and they're not attached. You know, they're not attached to their mom, they're not attached to their dad. So they need to form an attachment so they can then learn empathy, compassion, affiliation, tolerance, core behaviors that help children exit the cycle of violence. And really, the dogs become the teachers of those core behaviors. Because once the therapy dog keeps coming back and keeps coming back, look, kids go, you know, maybe trust doesn't always lead to disappointment. Gabriel came back.
It's the unconditional love they were not getting.
No matter what day the child had, that therapy dog will go in and say, you're a great kid, you're a great kid. No, by the way, you're a great kid too.
So how do you teach this? We've got responsibility, I'm sure, tolerance, as you mentioned. We got empathy, we got trust. These are a lot of things for a kid who's been around the block a few times, more times than they should have been.
Right.
How do you work this?
Well, we know that they lack these behaviors, so our program is designed around activities that bring the children in closer contact with the therapy dog. So all the activities are age appropriate, as the children will brush the therapy dog, they'll listen to the dog's heartbeat, and you know, then they'll listen to their own heartbeat and they'll go, oh, well, animals have feelings too. I can trust this creature that keeps coming back. Believe it or not, they'll brush his teeth, and that's a beautiful empathy-building exercise.
Oh, sure.
Older children will do basic obedience skills, but what we need to do is begin that trusting relationship, because once trust happens, children develop empathy, and they will feel the need of the therapy dog, where before they might not feel the need because they lacked empathy.
And we were seeing that this bulldog up there is just a star. I mean,
Yeah,
they put the little stethoscope, and he's just going, yeah.
You know, it's pretty amazing that it's that connection between children and animals, really, that is the magic of Gabriel's Angels.
Well, and let's talk about results. Are you seeing results? What kind of results? How quickly?
Well, I'm a little analytical, believe it or not, and so for the past 7 years, we've been doing formal program evaluations, taking those core behaviors that we spoke about, go directly to the caretakers of that agency and say, do you see changes in the children in any of these core behaviors? They rate it on a Likert scale, and I have 7 to 8 years of data now that shows us that trust and attachment is the primary skill that children learn from interaction with the therapy dog. And that's without trust and attachment, these children aren't going to make it. From that, we then go, oh, now they're showing some empathy.
How quickly are you seeing some of these results?
Happens over time, to be quite candid. When children are desensitized, it can take some time. We've recently launched, through the help of the Virginia Piper Trust, a one-on-one intervention program. We've always worked with groups of children, and we're now working with the most severely abused and neglected with the counselor, with the therapy dog and the owner, and the dog becomes written into the treatment program, so it's groundbreaking.
I don't know how best to ask this, but I mean, you've got this dog. It's absolutely unconditional love and just absolutely fantastic for these kids, yet this is not the real world. How do you emphasize to the kids, yes, you're getting unconditional love from the dogs, but this, I mean, you don't want to set them up for future disappointment.
And you might be alluding to the fact that when that child leaves, Gabriel won't be there, or Gabriel won't be coming there forever.
Yes.
So those kids can deal with loss as well, but it's also part of life that things will come into their life that's really great, and things that are really great will leave their life, but it's done in a way with caring and compassion. And certainly, as these children go back into their environment, we hope it's a better environment than the one they were pulled from, or they wouldn't be going back. And now they know what empathy and compassion is, because it's almost a paradigm shift, that if I only know anger and violence, that's how I'm going to react. But now if I know compassion, I know empathy, I can choose that. And we're giving these kids a chance to make that choice, where all they know is to defend themselves with behaviors that, quite candidly, don't work well in the real world.
What kind of age groups do you think work best with the pet therapy?
We work from infant up to age 18. I'm a big fan of teenage boys.
Yeah.
These kids are going to be out sooner rather than later. And at that point, it becomes such a relationship with the handler of the therapy dog as well as the dog itself. We work with all age groups. And when you can see a hardened teenage girl from Florence Crittenton begin to break the wall down and begin to learn trust and look forward to something that's going to happen with the therapy dog, it's pretty amazing.
Where do you find these dogs? And do they have special training?
Real special, yes, sir. They live at home with their owners. So your service dog is a dog that would be a guide dog. Your dog that's at home sleeping on your bed right now is a great pet, and therapy dogs are really somewhere in the middle. These are volunteer therapy teams. They work with their animal, and they become registered as a team through Delta or Therapy Dog Inc. So there's an amount of training that the dogs have to have.
Is there a possibility, we talked about the fact that, they get to the real world, it's not the same as having that kind of unconditional love. However, what happens if the kid connects so much they want to keep the pet?
Well, the doggy has to go home. And that's another life lesson for the children. They will cry when you leave because they think you're never coming back.
Yes.
But you go back the next week, and they might cry when you leave that week. But the third, fourth, and fifth week, they don't need to cry because they knew Gabriel was coming back.
We got about 30 seconds left. When you started this and you had an idea and a vision for this, is what's happening now what you thought would happen?
I had no idea that we would be serving 13,000 abused, neglected, and at-risk youth a year. I always say this: in my best day, when child abuse ends, I'll close my doors.
Yes.
I had no idea of the need. We're Arizona, we're statewide now, and that's our dream, is let's help these kids.
Well, you're just doing fantastic work. Thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.